Hey you guys, a lot of things happen in this episode. So instead of me just trying to, put everything onto context in like in a 10-minute span, I'm just gonna split, this review pretty much into two parts. So this is part one of my Viking season one episode four review. The episode is entitled Trial. So without any further ado, let's begin this. So episode begins with Ragnar and company on their way to yet another town in Northumbria. They were able to take one of the soldiers from the previous episode, which Ragnar speared down, to lead them there. So they get close to the village, and Rollo wants to attack, straight away, while they're vulnerable. But Ragnar at this point is like, nah, but wait. Then he asks I believe that guy's name is One Eye. He asked him, what day is it? One Eye said, Saturday. So Ragnar's like, okay, let's wait. Let's wait till tomorrow. And Rollo's like, what? Why? Same question everyone else is asking. He said, I'll tell you tomorrow. So, yeah. So, what else happened in this episode? All right. So, we meet King Ayla, and he's told about the atrocities that the Vikings, have committed against his people. So, I think pretty much at this point he just sends an army to try to like combat them since he hears word that they arrived yet again. So also in this episode, I believe the trial is the fact that Athelstan, as was last known from last week, is the fact that he was left in charge of the farm and the children. So he already made dinner for the children, and Bjorn's like, I want to, go where my father is. And Athelstan's like, we can't go there. He's like, why not? He was saying because who will look after the farm if we all go there? And Bjorn's like, fuck, he got a point there. And then he's like, you know what? I want to make a sacrifice to Odin. And Athelstan's like, who? For what? You mean? Like, what are you going to sacrifice? And he's like, you. Then he all leaves and, like a little bratty kid that he is. Another thing that should be noted about that little scene is the fact that Allison's pouring himself some ale, and Gita's like, I want some ale, or may I have some ale? And Allison's like, you're too young, and Bjorn just takes it, just straight up defiance, just, pours it right in front, in her cup right in front of Allison. Allison's like, you bastard. But yeah, besides that, in this episode, it's Sunday. So, like, the next day, like later in the episode, you have Ragnar, everyone's awake, they're ready, and Ragnar's still like, hey, wait. And they're like, what, dude? Listen for what? And then you hear the church bell. And everyone, and the rest like, wait, what are you waiting for? So everyone makes their way, to the town. And when they make it to the town, it's kind of sort of similar to the other time we made it to Linda's farm, but not nearly as violent as that. But yeah. So Lagertha gets separated. Ragnar tells Lagertha, don't get separated from the others. So Lagertha catches Canute, who I believe is the Earl's bastard younger brother, raping a Saxon woman. And she comes in just in time and says, stop it. So Canute throws that Saxon woman to the ground, and he tries to rape Lagertha. And Lagertha stabs the motherfucker, and he dies, because he deserves that. Fuck any type of rapist. So, besides that, you have Rollo coming into this old man's house, and at first you think the old man's going to get just straight up destroyed by Rollo. And I think the old man was thinking the same thing. Because his eyes were like, ah, shit. Ah, shit. Not this way, Lord. But you see, Rollo pretty much knows that the man was motioning towards the cup to drink some water. Because it's obvious that this dude's really sickly. So Rollo pretty much pours the guy some water and helps him drink it. And then he sort of spills the rest of the water out and takes all the gold and shit. Like the gold and, stuff at the guy's house, and he beats on his way. And the guy's like, fuck, I just dodged a bullet, literally. Another thing that happened in this episode, you have Ragnar and Eric Martin, Leif, and Floki, and One Eye basically coming to the church. And Ragnar tells the priest that if you guys don't resist, none of you guys will get hurt. God bless. Ragnar's such an asshole. But yeah, so Ragnar, I believe he leaves, briefly. And Floki is drinking from the holy chalice of and he's like all disgusted, and he spits it out, and he knows the people are like, oh, so like in disgust and awe, and just like can't believe, like, oh my god, he's really doing this to the holy shit. And Floyd keeps on doing it, like, just to get a reaction to everyone. And you just see the rest of the Vikings just take all the shit and just bounce. So, like that tells Ragnar that she killed Canute when he asks where Canute is. And Ragnar looks at Rollo and he's like, I thought I told you to watch her, pretty much. And after that, they're trying to get to the boats. They know that the little army that King Ayla sent is cutting them off. That the guys that they had watching the boat got killed off. So you got this really small, yet really, really brutal and very visceral like battle in which while you're watching, you feel as though you're in it yourself. Like every move, every stab, everything. It was just very, like I said, words really can't describe, how very daunting that thing was, that battle. And you have Rollo saying, like, I believe, like, sayings, like their cultural sayings. And you have Lag that just going to town on people. You got Floki whenever one of those, whenever they open it up, open up their shield wall, just going to town on people with his axe and shit. And then you have just Ragnar near the end of the battle when they won, badass with just blood all over his face, saying, finish it off, And then one of his friends, I believe, that was with him on the journey to Lindisfarne, he died. And they had a scene in which him and the other two men that actually died in the battle were buried, along with a horse head, decapitated horse head. And I believe the Saxon warrior, the Northumbrian warrior, who told them everything about the town and all this shit. He wanted to live. Ragnar was like, no, fuck you. And he had him killed. And, yeah, before he had him killed, there was an interesting scene in which Ragnar was looking over the grave, of his fallen comrades, and he was visibly hurt, obviously, and Rollo's like, don't be sad. He's with the gods, drinking ale, and all that stuff, an internal battle, in like battling forever and all that stuff. He's happier than we are. Ragnar's like, yeah, he is with our drinks and our boat. So I didn't know if Ragnar was being like sarcastic with that, or if he was being like genuine, or a little bit of both. But yeah, that was really interesting. So before I leave off with this interview, I believe after that, King Ayla was told about the defeat of his small army, and at first he was like enraged, and I believe the leader of that army, of that little army, was Regis, and Regis kept saying to him that he never met a group of people that were so tall, so dangerous, and who did not fear death and fought with such an intensity, the likes of which he never seen before. He said they were like demons, essentially. And you have King Ayla saying, are they not men? You know what I mean? Don't they bleed when they cut? Can they not die? You know what I mean? They aren't like invincible, essentially. And the guy saying that you never met them, pretty much. You have to see this for yourself, King. And he was saying that they captured two of the people at the boats, and they couldn't understand what they were saying, but they did say one thing that they could understand: Ragnar. So yeah, that's pretty much my review for the first half of this episode. For Vikings Season 4, Episode 1, entitled Trial. In a few minutes, I'll have Part 2 out, no problem. So for now, adios. And if you can, like the video and also put some comments down below.